Imagine a young woman named Mia, a barista in San Francisco, who moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in 2020. Back then, the rental market was soft. Landlords were practically begging for tenants during the pandemic, and she snagged her place for $1,800 a month. It wasn't cheap, but it was doable on her income. Fast forward to today, March 17th, 2025, and Mia's landlord just hit her with a rent increase to $2,100. She's stunned. Her paycheck hasn't budged much, but her rent's up nearly 17% in just a few years. She's not alone. Across the rich world, tenants like Mia are grappling with rents rising at a blistering 5% a year, the fastest pace in decades. For Mia, it's not just a number, it's the difference between saving for a future and barely scraping by. Mia's story reflects a seismic shift in the rental market that swept across advanced economies. Before COVID 19, rents crept up at a modest 2% annually, high but manageable. During the pandemic, things even cooled off in some cities as people fled urban centres. But now it's a different beast. In places like Portugal, rents are soaring by 7% a year. In Australia, rental inflation is 8 times what it was in the late 2010s. Even in New Zealand, where house prices have tanked 15% from their peak, rents are up 14%. This isn't just a San Francisco problem, it's a rich world crisis, hitting a quarter of households who rent, especially the poorest ones. For them, these increases aren't statistics. They're a monthly gut punch. Why is this happening? One big culprit is monetary policy. Central bankers, like those at the US Federal Reserve, jacked up interest rates to tame overall inflation. Think 30-year mortgage rates jumping from 2.7% in 2020 to nearly 7% now. That's priced out would-be home buyers like Mia's friend Jake, who dreamed of owning a starter home. Instead, he's stuck renting, adding pressure to an already tight market. Landlords with variable rate mortgages aren't helping. They're passing on their higher costs too. A study from UC Berkeley found that a 1 point rate hike can push rents up 5.5%. Meanwhile, the supply of rentals isn't keeping up. In 2020, builders in cities like San Francisco slashed multifamily projects, think apartment buildings, in favor of suburban homes, those half finished luxury condos dotting the skyline. They're not helping Mia. Then there's migration, a recent surge of newcomers, 500,000 net migrants annually in Australia alone, has turbocharged demand. Most of these folks, like 75% of recent arrivals in Britain, rent because they can't buy. They flock to cities where housing is already scarce, driving rents even higher. Goldman Sachs estimates Australia's migration boom adds 5% to rental prices. On the flip side, supply's been choked. The pandemic shifted construction away from rentals, and regulatory hurdles make it tough to add new units quickly. The result? A perfect storm of too many tenants chasing too few homes. This rental crunch isn't just an economic headache, it's a social and political powder keg. In the US, median rent payments jumped 10% in 2023 per the Fed, and homelessness is spiking, up 20% in Canada and 40% in the US since 2018. Renters feel cheated, especially when they see homeowners with fixed rate mortgages or paid off houses splurging on hobbies while they cut corners. American data shows homeowners boosted fund spending by 25% from 2021 to 2023, while renters managed just 16%. That resentment's bubbling over. A study from Oxford suggests that in Germany, low income renters hit by rising costs are more likely to back radical right parties, threatening the political status quo. So, what's next? There's a glimmer of hope. Rental inflation might be peaking, construction's picking up, interest rates have stabilized, and migration's slowing in some spots, but don't hold your breath for a quick fix. Rates might not drop enough to get people like Jake buying homes again, easing the rental squeeze. For now, tenants like Mia are stuck, juggling higher bills and fading dreams. The rich world's rental crisis isn't just about housing, it's about fairness, stability, and who gets left behind. And as long as it festers, the consequences will ripple far beyond the lease agreements